Hey, everybody. Welcome to the year of more. You heard me in the last episode that we're going to be talking about 2021 being the year of more. Because last year was kind of the year of less in some ways. For those of us who were planning, who were strategizing, who were making things happen, who were following our systems and processes, we came through that weird 3 months of slowdown or stoppage and picked things back up. Lots of people are doing just as well, if not a little bit better than they would have if the year didn't have that weirdness around March. But forget about that. We're now approaching 2021. This is your year of more. And so you're going to hear that theme a lot from me this year because I'm here to remind you more is yours to be had. And so one of the themes for more, and you've heard me say before, more family, more fitness, more faith, more profits, more sales, more and better team, more and better meetings, etc. All of those things are more. They're in your grasp. The next one, the one I want you to think about right now, the hot marble I'm going to pop in your ear and let you roll around your brain, is that this year I want it to be your year of more numbers, more data, more stats, more statistics, right? And more tracking. Now, quite often, here's what I get back from business owners. They say, Dom, I don't want to share my information with my team. Why would I want to share my sales? Why would I want to share my profit numbers? My guys will never understand. If we just did a job for $10,000, they'll think I took 10 grand home. And we all know that's not the case. On a $10,000 deal, maybe if everything goes perfect, you get to take home 1,000, maybe 1,200 bucks, right? But for some people, they just don't see the world the way that we do, especially people who listen to this show. So I get it, but I want to talk about it from a different perspective. Remember, you're on this show, you're listening to this podcast to think different, not think like everybody else. On this show, we talk the language of business. We talk the language of entrepreneurship. We talk the language of how can I? We talk the language of what if? What if I thought different? What if I acted different? What if I took a different approach? And so that's what I'm going to take you through right here and right now. So today we're going to talk about more numbers, data, stats, and tracking. To do that, and you can do this exercise even if you're driving in your truck, even if you're walking your dog or your cats, I guess. If anybody, you walk your cats? If you're walking your cats, you look odd. I don't know that you should do that. But hey, maybe you do. Or you're on the treadmill, maybe you're working out, whatever you're doing in the shop, listening as you're working. But here's what I want you to think about. When you think about what kind of numbers would I track anyway? If I'm not tracking my sales and profitability, what the heck would I be showing my team that matters anyways? Well, here's what you're going to track. I'm going to come at this from a different angle. I want you to play a game with me, a game where you're sitting in your office. You've just poured yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. You sit down, the phones aren't ringing, which is great. You've got a little bit of free time. You start to pick up your pen and write some notes in your book, and then your phone rings. And it is your nearest competitor and somebody who you'd actually consider a friend. He or she runs exactly the same business as you. This person has the same philosophy as you. They have the same approach to business as you. Maybe you guys started out working together and you both took your own paths to where you are today. He has his company, you've got your company. She has her company, you got your company. And you're very similar. And even when you cross paths, you're very friendly and professional, and you know each other and respect each other, right? So this, on the other end of the phone, ringing, is a good person who makes you smile when you see their name show up. Is that locked in your head? Now, you pick up the phone and you say, hi. And this person's name is going to be Will. Hi, Will. How you doing? And Will says to you, everything's great. Have a little chit chat. And then Will says, listen, you know, my dear wife, Susie, she's sick, very sick, the kind of sick that I don't think she's going to get better from. And I want to be by her side through this. I don't want to work anymore. Will you buy my company? And so you go ahead and you have this conversation with Will, and you know Susie, you love the both of them. And you say, well, let me think about it and get back to you. So you hang up the phone, and now you're sitting in this quiet office with a hot cup of coffee, an empty notebook in front of you, your favorite pen in your hand, and you're going to write some notes to yourself. I would do the same thing. I would say, well, okay, listen, I understand the tough situation that Will is in, and I'm glad he called me first. But here's the questions I want to ask Will before I'll even consider buying his company. What are those questions? And so I want you to write those questions down. What do you demand to know before you would even consider buying your friend Will's company, right? Now take out of your mind that it's on the other side of town. No, he's right next door. Take out of your mind anything that would be limiting. This is a business that's perfect and easy to buy. He's right next door. He has the same kind of equipment as you, the same kind of customers as you. Everything is cookie cutter, just like you. Where you are left, he's right. Where you are A, he is B. So you're exactly the same, just enough different that you're running separate companies. What do you need to know about Will's business before you even consider buying it? So go ahead and start writing that. And some of you already said the things that would be obvious, right? Well, I'd want to know his sales. I'd want to know his profits, right? So Dom, we're right back where we started. I don't want to share those numbers with anybody. Will share them with me? Yes, he will. Oh, God, I should have chosen a different name than Will. You see how this is turning around to bite me in the butt? Anyhow, William, share those numbers with me. Of course, he's going to. Maybe you're going to say, well, I need to see his customer list. And I really want to know what his assets are. What equipment he's tracking, what the age of the equipment is. Good. If you've written those things down, you're in a good place. I'm going to take you to the entrepreneur level because it doesn't matter. I've been fortunate to have entrepreneur training. I've gone and sought out training from very, very wise people who are usually kind of hard to find. They're not flashy type of people. They're just doing what they do. And when I find them, I know what they look like and how they act and the kind of indicators and flags they leave behind them that tell me that's a successful and wise person who's not full of crap. And so I'll ask them as much as I can and I'll learn everything I can. I've been doing this for 20 years. Here's the way they would look at this. They would say, well, there's a couple of categories that I've got questions for. And these are the categories I'm going to ask questions to Will. I'm going to ask him in the category of marketing, in the category of sales, in the category of his estimating, in the category of his pre-production, in the category of his production. So let me stop for a second. Production. What do you make? What do you sell? What do you dismantle? What do you maintain? What do you install? What do you service, etc. Right? So that's production, right? Post-production. So after you do the make, build, sell, dismantle, demolish, whatever construction trade you're in, right? I'm going to ask in the areas of change orders. I need to understand his change order process and his change order systems. I'm going to ask about his receivables. So that's his cash flow. And sometimes that's called accounts payable and accounts receivable. Those are often shortened to the letters AR and AP. Okay. And you'd be talking to your bookkeeper about these things anyways. And then I'm also going to ask him questions about the category of his people. Tell me about your people. And so inside of those areas, I have numbers that I can find in his company, or I'm going to show him how to go find those numbers in his company, and they're going to tell me the health of each of those pieces of the company. So what would tell me the health of Will's marketing? Go ahead and think of that right now. How would I know that Will's marketing or advertising was healthy? I don't know. I don't know what business Will is in, and I don't know what business you're in. Thank you for listening, but I can tell you this, I'm always going to look at something called acquisition cost and lifetime value. I don't mean to get all business coach dorky on you, but the shorthand is how much are we spending on marketing and advertising, and how many leads, how many interested people are we getting back? So we might just be counting the number of phone calls. We might just be counting the number of emails we're getting in. We might be counting, I don't know, what other ways, POs that we're getting, right? So what's happening in the marketing side of his business? I want to count those things. Now remember, the theme of this year is more numbers, more data, more stats, more tracking. What I just laid out for you in this question that we're going to ask Will before we even consider buying his business are the same numbers that I really, really want you to track in your company. Do you see what I did there? Before you would even consider buying your good friend Will's company, here's what you would demand to know about his business, to know if it's healthy enough, if it's worthy of your dollars, worthy of your time to chase it down and buy it. It's the same numbers for you, my friend. We're going to track those things. So when people say to me, I don't want to show my team the numbers, why would I want to show them my sales and my profits? Don't. I agree. Don't show it to them. They don't know what you're talking about. They're going to think just because you sold $500,000 last year or $1 million last year or 10 million last year, that you're actually taking home $10 million. And we all know that ain't the case. That is not the case, sadly, but we'll get you there. But we can track what are called leading indicators. We can track the things that show us the story, that tell us the health of the business. Category 1, marketing. Category 2, sales. What would you track, or what would you look for? Let's use the Will example again. What would you track from Will to see what his sales were like? How many appointments did he have per week? Or how many appointments did he have per month? Whatever the appointment count is, track that. Imagine if you had that on a whiteboard in front of you in the shop or in the office, right? Imagine if it was maybe electronic and you could look it up on an Excel spreadsheet, and anytime you wanted, you could see how many sales meetings you'd had and how many sales you made. Just so you know, that's called a conversion rate. And don't get freaked out. It's the same thing as a batting average in baseball. Same thing. How many times you go up at bat, how many times you hit the thing, right? That's all it is. So there's two things we would track in sales. Dead easy. If you could track that, imagine what it would look like for you if you saw all of 2020's data, 52 weeks worth of appointments and sales. What would you learn from your own company? What would you learn from your own sales skills? And if you have a sales team, what would you learn about your sales team? Would you find out that Fridays are a better sales day for them? Or that August and end of August was a bad time to sell typically because people were away on vacation, if the world was normal. But what would you see in the trends? And by the way, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a patterns guy. I like seeing the patterns. I love colored graphs, and pie charts and bar charts and all those things, Gantt charts. I get that. I don't get numbers on a page. If you're the same person who, when the accountant hands you the report, you look at it and you're like, well, yeah, I guess I trust my accountant, so these numbers must be right. If you're that kind of person, then you might want to try getting your financials delivered to you as charts and graphs. I got to tell you, what a game changer. And you might be laughing and going, Rubino, really? That's the high advice that you're giving me on this show? Colored pictures? Yep, that is the high advice I'm giving you. It took me forever to figure it out. I'm sure some of you listening here are going, why didn't I think of that? Go back to my bookkeeper, ask for colored charts and graphs. This is the year of more, folks. You can have more. You just got to go ask for more. In this category or this topic today, we're talking about more numbers, more data, more stats, more tracking, so that you have more confidence. You know what's already happened and you can see the future. You can forecast. That's more confidence. You see what I mean? More certainty, less stress, less feeling frazzled and scattered or like a chicken with your head cut off. That's all we're talking about here, is how to get you more. We've only talked about two categories, my friends, marketing and sales. Now let's look at estimating. How many estimates did Will's business do? How many estimates did he win? What's the average size of his estimate? Here's an interesting one. How long does it take us to estimate a job? 5 minutes? 5 hours? An interesting thing there when you start to track this is you're going to start to look at that and go, wow, it cost me, my internal costs was, let's say, just for the sake of it, $500 an hour for internal costs, just operating costs and everything else. That's my internal cost to run the business. If it took you 5 hours to bid a job at a $500 revenue responsibility per hour, it costs you $2,500 to bid a 5-hour job, to invest 5 hours in a job. If that job's not worth $2,500, if it's not worth $25,000, why are you bidding that work? Right? This is what the numbers tell us. The numbers tell us a story. Those stories for me come to life when I see the patterns, the beautiful charts and graphs. I don't care if you lay out jelly beans in a shape I can understand. I understand that more than I understand numbers in grids on an Excel spreadsheet. It's just me. Maybe it's you too. We get to the same place. I don't care how you get there. You don't care how I get there. We get to the same place, right? So I want to find out his statistics on estimating. What about pre-production? What's happening in pre-production? What would you track? What would you demand to know about Will's company about what happened before a job started, whether it was repair, renovation, maintenance, service, installation, removal, etc.? What would you need to know about pre-production? How many staff does he have? How many vans does he have? What's the condition of those vans? What's the scheduling we've got? Where in the city are his jobs? Because if all of his jobs are on the other side of a bridge that takes a toll booth to get to behind a railroad track, you already know where some improvements can be made in that business. Each one of those things takes extra time. An extra 10 minutes on the bridge, an extra 15 minutes behind the train, and $10 in the toll booth, you can already see where the profit leaks are in that business. And you are smart enough to go, if I fix those things, If I think about how to change where we do business for Will, we're going to make more money because I won't spend 10 bucks on a toll. We won't waste 10 minutes on a bridge, and we won't be stuck behind a train for 15 minutes. That's all money in your pocket. So look at pre-production stats, numbers, data, and you can tease those out any way you want to, right? You might be looking at different things than somebody else, but whatever you think about in pre-production, that's something you want to track on this whiteboard, very simple whiteboard that's in front of you, or a really simple Excel spreadsheet. Then we've got production numbers. How many men on how many shovels digging how many feet, how deep a day? That's what we're talking about. If you're building cabinets, how many boxes, how many faces? How much install are we doing? How many miles are we putting through the edge bander? If you're doing electrical, if you're doing HVAC, you've all got different measurements for production. Just think about that. Then we've got post-production. What are you measuring in post-production? If you subcontract movers, or if you subcontract finishers or installers or another trade to come in there, the other thing you might have in post-production that you want to track and you want to know about Will's business is how good is he at booking inspections, from the city, the county, the state, whatever it is. Who's doing the inspections? How good is he at booking those? Because if his team already has a broken system for doing that, and you put your good system in there, you're going to save a day, 2 days, a week on every job. Well, if you can complete every job 10 days faster than Will did, by the end of the year, you're going to complete, let's say, 2 or 3 more jobs with the same amount of people, just because you project managed it better, right? So we're still thinking about this. If Will begged me to buy his business, what would I demand to know? And I want you to do this exercise. And when you break it down into these categories, let me say it again here: marketing, sales, estimating, pre-production, production, post-production, change orders, receivables, and my people, you'll start to think about inside of each of those, this is the number I would demand to know. The next one is change orders. How many change orders? How much change orders? You'll get to the point when you get your numbers dialed in, you'll know how many change orders per $10,000 of billing your company is doing. And that way, when you estimate a job, you know where to sharpen your pencil. If it's a $100,000 job, and you know that for every $10,000, you're going to get $1,000 in change orders. See where I'm going with this? You can bid very, very tight, knowing that that general contractor always has a certain amount of change orders per 10,000. It's a great number to track. Is that going to tell your people your profits? Is that going to share any crazy information? No. Let me add to that this simple thing. I have been talking about what you're listening to for 20 years. And your competitor is not listening to this podcast. So don't worry if you think your staff is going to take it and tell it to the next guy they go work for. Even if they tell them, they're not going to do anything about it. That, my friends, is the reason I'm still in business. Sadly, and kind of funny if you think about it. So don't worry. Be proud. Stand up. Measure the numbers you want. People cannot recreate what you build in your shop, on your job site, with your crew, in another place. They just can't do it. You've got to do it yourself. This company is a reflection of you, and that's why more 2021 is such a big deal. More numbers, more data, more stats, more tracking. This is your year to go find it. I'm going to stop on this. You kind of get where I'm going, right? Once you start to define these numbers, you can track these numbers. The discipline of tracking them is just boring. I don't know how else to say it. Every week, you look at the numbers. The numbers will tell you. You'll look at that and you say, why did we take so long doing the Lopez job? And one of your guys will say, well, the Lopez job's on the other side of a toll and on the other side of a bridge. And so we get stuck in bridge traffic. Then we got to pay the toll, and we got to take the off ramp. Then it's hard to park, and it's a condo. So we got to get special parking privileges. And sometimes we get tickets, and you're like, oh my God, that's all money. Everything you talked about is costing me money. Why did we bid the Lopez job? You don't have to bid the Lopez job in a condo with special parking privileges, with lockout times for the elevators, on the other side of a bridge, on the other side of a toll booth. Stop doing business with the Lopez's in the building. Go find another area of town that doesn't have toll booths or bridges or condo parking. Go find other business. It's just pure profit margin, and you still get to do the business you love. Okay, so that's where all this is going. So this year is the year of more. More for you, more for your family, more for your friends, more love, more happiness, more education, more wisdom, more patience, more love and caring, more being a great dad, more hugging your kids, more high-fiving your dad or your brother, more being patient with your wife's brothers and sisters, I've said too much. More of all that stuff is for you, right? So the theme today is more numbers, data, stats, and tracking. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I really appreciate you checking in, and we'll talk to you next time.